everyone, and a very warm welcome to day one of NAP Week. We are really hoping that you enjoyed this morning's session, our launch of the National Activity Providers and Professionals Week. If you missed it or you'd like to watch it again, it's still available across our NAPA communications channels, so please do catch up and share with colleagues. This session is being shared across our communication channels, and we'd love you to join in as we go. So please use the chat to ask questions, add comments, and share reflections. We'll do our very best to respond to as many questions as we can during the session, but if we don't get to your question live, we'll respond directly in the chat afterwards. NAP Week is all about connection, confidence, learning, and celebration. But above all, it's about recognising the vital role activity providers play every single day across care settings. Before we go any further, we'd like to say a very special thank you to our NAP Week sponsor, Majesticare Luxury Care Homes. Their continued support helps to make this week possible and demonstrates a genuine commitment to high quality activity engagement and wellbeing in care. Today marks the start of a full week dedicated to learning, reflection, inspiration and recognition, and we're so pleased that you're here with us. Today's session is focused entirely on leadership in activity provision. Activity providers are leaders in every sense of the word, leading well-being, culture, relationships and quality of life. Yet many don't always see themselves reflected in that traditional leadership language or structures. I'm really pleased to be joined by Terri Eakins, who brings a wealth of experience in supporting activity providers to recognise their leadership, strengthen their professional voice and build confidence in their role. This will be an open, relaxed conversation and will leave space for your questions and reflections throughout. Hello, Terri. Thank you for joining me today. I thought we could start at the beginning, really. In your experience, what makes a good activity leader? And why do you believe that activity providers are leaders in every sense of the word, even if they don't always describe themselves that way?
Hi, Ellie. Thank you for inviting me. So I think for me, a good activity leader is someone who leads with intention, someone who leads with empathy and curiosity. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, but about noticing people and creating connection and shaping experiences that support well-being and inclusion. Activity providers are leaders because they influence how people feel, how spaces are used, how others engage, they model values, they set the tone, and they often lead change through action rather than authority. Even if they don't always name themselves as leaders, their impact is visible every single day in culture, in confidence, and the quality of life they help create.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they lead in a way that unites people and brings them together.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Leaders really do. They ensure activities are purposeful, person-centred and really embedded into that daily life, not just treated as an extra. It's really about championing the role of activities in well-being, identity and quality of life. Many activity providers don't hold formal management titles, yet they lead people, atmosphere, routines and culture every day. Why do you think this leadership is sometimes overlooked, and why is it so important that we recognise and name it?
I think this is a really good question, and possibly it's overlooked as, all services have their titles and roles. Managers and leaders are generally defined with their title, so it can be hard for other team members to recognise a leader who doesn't essentially wear that title of leader. And it's not through fault, it's through teaching. Leaders have a structure, whereas activity providers are unique and diverse in their structure. I just really think it's important for organisations to recognise that activity providers are leaders and honour their commitment by naming it.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. And leadership does look different for everyone, much like the activity role is diverse, so is leadership. But what does leadership really mean to you personally? And how would you describe your own leadership style?
I think first and foremost, yeah, absolutely. Leadership looks different for everyone. For some people, it's structure and observation. For others, it's getting stuck in. And these styles are perfectly okay because, like you say, you know, leadership does look different for everybody. I think for me, leadership isn't about a title. It's about influence, care, and consistency. It's how you show up every day, how you listen, how you create space for others to feel confident, value, and involved. My own leadership style is very people-led. I lead by modeling good practice. You would always see me on a training course staying reflective and bringing others with me rather than telling them what to do. It's about building trust, not control, and focusing on well-being as much as outcomes. I think for me, in my leadership style, I am really open to being led myself as well. So learning from others, it holds such a high value and is so important to me. So let's switch it back, Ellie. What would you say is important in leadership for you?
I think for me in leadership, there's three particular things that are really important, and that would be empathy, adaptability, and confidence. I think they're really essential. Empathy allows you to really understand people, their stories, their preferences, their choices, their needs and abilities. Adaptability really ensures that activities remain responsive to changing needs, and I think confidence is needed to be able to advocate for what you're doing, for resources, for sharing best practice and educating colleagues, and standing firm on the value of meaningful engagement. I know it's not always easy, particularly around confidence, but it is important to lead a culture of understanding the importance of activities and meaningful engagement, embedding it into daily life and really championing the role of activities in well-being. But ultimately, I think it is all tied together in really strong communication. I think communication underpins everything, doesn't it? And I think being in good leadership, good communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
We often hear activity providers say, I'm just doing my job, or I'm not really a leader. What do you think can get in the way of confidence and visibility for activity providers? And how can they start to recognise the influence that they already have?
I hear that a lot, and I think it comes from years of activity roles perhaps being undervalued or misunderstood. When your work is seen as nice to have rather than essential, it's easy to downplay your impact. Add in being busy, working quietly in the background, and not always having a formal title, and then the confidence can slip. I think activity providers influence far more than they realise. They shape culture, mood, relationships, and daily experiences. Confidence starts to grow when they pause and notice the ripple effect of their work, how people respond, how staff follow their lead, how spaces feel different because of what they do. I think naming that impact, sharing it, and giving themselves permission to be seen is often the first step in recognising they're already leading.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this week is the perfect opportunity for people to take that time to reflect and also celebrate and champion what they're doing already. As you know, NAPA is really committed to supporting activity providers to continue to grow and lead with confidence. Can you tell us about some of the resources available on the NAPA website that support leadership development, confidence, reflection, and professional practice?
Yeah, there are some fantastic free resources available, such as the NAPA calendar, the NAPA standards, CQC resources. There's toolkits for positive language and why it matters, and induction framework for our activity providers. So there's lots out there. There's lots.
Oh, absolutely. There's lots to explore and make use of. But for those who maybe might want a bit more structured development, we launched last year the NAPA Learning Space. So I wondered if you could tell us what kind of e-learning courses are available that support leadership skills, confidence, and professional growth for activity providers.
So there's the NAPA Advanced Communication Skills in Reminiscence work, which explores communication techniques that are essential for delivering meaningful, person-centered reminiscence activities. There's also the Embedding Culture of Communication and Excellence, which offers real practical knowledge and insight into how communication shapes organisational culture. And let's not forget the level 2 and 3 qualifications. And I'm proud to say the level 3 certificate in activity provision is now available on the NAPA Learning Space. This is a brilliant course, and once completed, your professional pathway doesn't stop there. If you go on to complete the leadership course, you will become a NAPA recognised activity professional. So one of the things I really value about NAPA is that it doesn't see leadership as something extra or only for managers. It's woven into everyday practice. On the NAPA website, there are lots of free resources that support this, from the standards of practice and framework for practice, which help activity providers recognise professional value of what they do. There's also reflection tools, guidance documents, blogs, and bite-sized learning resources that encourage confidence, self-awareness, and growth. There are also practical tools that help you evidence your impact, reflect on challenges, and develop your voice, all of which build leadership over time. And what I really like is that they're accessible, they're realistic, and they're rooted in real activity practice, which makes them especially powerful. And I always encourage people to dip into them regularly, not just when, essentially, if they perhaps feel that something feels difficult.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many resources, training courses, so much available, covering such a wide range of topics and needs. So I really recommend heading on over and taking a look, because there is bound to be plenty on there that can really support you in your professional development, particularly around leadership. Thank you, Terri, so much. Leadership in activity provision, it can be challenging, particularly when roles aren't fully understood. What advice would you give activity providers about sustaining confidence, influence, and momentum over time?
I think this is a really important question, because activity roles can perhaps feel a little bit invisible at times. For me, sustaining confidence starts with remembering your purpose, why meaningful engagement matters, and who it impacts. When you stay rooted in that, it helps steady you when things perhaps feel a bit challenging. Influence grows through relationships and consistency. Keep showing up, keep communicating positively, keep linking what you do to well-being, inclusion, and everyday practice. People may not always acknowledge it straight away, but they're noticing. And momentum comes from reflecting on the small wins. Not every change is big or immediate. Sometimes it's a moment of connection, or simply a shift in attitude, or a colleague trying something new because of you. And finally, don't carry it alone. Stay connected to peers, keep learning, and give yourself permission to pause and reset when needed. So it's really important to remember that confidence isn't about pushing harder. It's about knowing your value and continuing with your intention.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with everything you said. Confidence, really, it is about those little things, reflecting on them and really celebrating those little wins, because they're not always immediately obvious, but they're there, and it's taking that time to reflect on them can really help to boost that confidence and momentum. Thank you so much for what you've shared. It really reflects the reality of leadership in the activity roles. We're now going to take a look at a few of the questions that have come in from the audience, and please keep adding your own questions to the comments into the chat. But our first one is from Cheryl. As a wellbeing lead, I often feel like I'm leading wellbeing and culture, but senior staff don't always take my voice seriously. How can I build credibility, confidence, so my ideas and concerns are heard?
This is something so many wellbeing leads experience, and it's important to say this first. Your role already holds value, even when it doesn't feel recognised. What helps is grounding your voice in what you see every day, changes in mood, engagement, behaviour, connection. That's evidence, that's the evidence. When you share it calmly and clearly, people listen. Linking wellbeing to shared priorities also matters. Quality of life, inclusion, staff morale, and inspection expectations. It helps others see that it isn't extra, it is essential. I think, and finally, confidence doesn't come from being the loudest voice in the room. It comes from consistency, clarity, and trust in the impact of your work. You're shaping culture even when it's quiet.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it really is all about the why behind what you're doing and the impact that it is having, and that can really, sometimes it can speak for itself, but a lot of the time we have to show that. That is what can help give us that confidence and credibility in your ideas. We've had another question from Jade. I'm expected to influence staff practice, but I don't have a management title or formal authority. How can I lead effectively and influence others when I don't officially manage anyone?
I say simple, lead by example. You are a professional in your field. Feel confident to let that shine. Use positive language, use reflective practice. You don't need a title for that. Your knowledge and understanding of the role is above any title.
Oh, absolutely. It really is about leading by example and showing that best practice, because, I mean, as we just said, that can often speak for itself, and other people will see you doing well, see what you're doing well, and learn from you leading the way. Not always, as you've said, not always by shouting the loudest, but by that quiet confidence in continuing to work to that high quality. And we've had one last question from Marvin. I care deeply about my role, but leadership expectations can sometimes feel overwhelming. How can activity providers lead well without feeling they have to carry everything alone?
I think it's really important to know that it's okay to ask for support or guidance. That is a leader. It's not failure, it's not weakness. It's actually a strength and a positive leadership characteristic. You are not expected to know or do everything, so please ask for help. Take a step back when write things down, reflect. Use your team members to carry the load. I think leading a team does not mean that you have to do everything, and it's really, really important to remember that.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. Before we finish, I'd like to take a moment just to highlight what's still to come this week, because there's lots more to look forward to. So tomorrow, Terri is leading our free online training course, Introduction to Activities for People Living with Dementia. This course has now sold out. It has been very popular, but we hope to see lots and lots of you there. Then on Wednesday, I will be joining some of our members from the Activity Provider Advisory Group, where we'll be talking about collaboration in action, a really practical exploration of whole home approaches to engagement, teamwork and culture. And then on Thursday, you can come and join myself and Terri once again, as we are going to be talking about the art of self-care, looking after you, sharing some practical tips and insights into self-care approaches for activity providers. And then Friday wraps up National Activity Providers and Professional Week in the best way with the NAPA conference, which is taking place in Liverpool. It's the UK's leading national event dedicated to activity, engagement and wellbeing in care. And this will be followed in the evening by the National Activity Awards Gala Dinner, where we were really celebrating excellence in activity provision. If we didn't get to your question today, please don't worry. We'll respond directly to you in the chat. And if you have further questions after the session, you can also email us at inquiries@napa-activities.co.uk. We'd also love you to get involved beyond today. Please share how you're recognising and celebrating activity providers and activity professionals this week, whether that's a thank you, a story, a photo, a moment of impact. please post on social media, tag NAPA and use the NAP Week hashtag NAPPW26 so we can celebrate and share your stories across the community. We also have free social media assets for you to use as well as a free printable certificate, a small but meaningful way for you to celebrate and champion the valuable work that you do. Thank you all for your continued dedication. NAP Week would not be possible without you, and we are truly grateful for everything that you do. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session.